you're here. Like, I don't understand. You need therapy.
I'm always here after 3:30.
I'm on the 7th hole already by the time you come here. Pretty standard.
What time do we close?
Institution in the area for
we
so
turned
long.
40
We're
this month.
Lucky as hell to have you guys sitting here. It's
absolutely.
friggin' awesome.
Right there to the 40th.
40th anniversary,
40th
September.
anniversary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, very good.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So for the viewers who need to get into shape quick for running, maybe it's softball, maybe it's baseball, lacrosse, something like soccer, and Corona, you didn't do much, and now you got to get into shape. What are you doing? Is it just going out and hitting the concrete, or is it more? What should we do?
You want to take that one?
Sure. First, you're screwed if you did nothing. It's plain and simple as that.
There might be a lot of people in that position.
I mean, just like you said, like a soccer or lacrosse player, if they don't practice that sport, they're gonna lose something. So if you're not running, like, you lost it right away.
Right.
Well, not
maybe
right
that's
away,
all you
but
can do because quarantine.
Exactly.
So what's our game play? You lacing up the shoes.
Extremely slow build up. I mean, especially starting from nothing, especially during a pandemic, right now, you can't just go out there and quote unquote hammer like 45 minutes to an hour.
I think we see in the store a lot too, where people will come in, they didn't do much, or all summer they don't have their team sport that they normally play, so they get into running, and it's almost like you think of it as how you would train a normal runner, specificity of training, right? What do you do for your sport? You're a soccer player?
Yes.
Don't abandon what is your tried and true method, which is interval training, right? That's what a soccer player does all day long. They just do constant 90 minutes of interval training in a game.
Yeah.
So don't abandon that piece just to go log 30 miles in a week. You know what I mean? So we're then saying, I think he's right, volume should be a slow incline, but don't abandon those other principles. If you went and talked to one of us about how to become a great runner, we'll probably tell you from the start, all easy running. Let's just do easy running and build this really great foundation. But if you say, I need to get in shape for soccer, I'd say don't abandon what you do, you know, that specificity of training. And doesn't mean you do intervals every day, but those got to be a part of your diet.
So maybe time. Maybe time is a good factor.
Absolutely.
I'm going for 45 minutes today. 15 of this is a warm-up, 15 of this is a cool-down, and we got 15 minutes where we're doing some sort of interval. And maybe we do that a couple times a week.
Yeah, and I think an athlete that comes from any one of those sports, they know what their preseason looks like when their coach is there.
And that's maybe what they're going to go off of when they go to train.
Yeah, use those pieces, though. I mean, they're there for a reason. They're not just about conditioning. They're about, conditioning muscles and the frame to do that sport that you're going to be doing. So
I think the majority of patients that have come in here due to a running injury, going from nothing to then starting running, they just have this, 3 miles in their head that's the thing that they're going to do. They're just going to go out and I'm going to go and I'm going to run 3 miles. That bike. I'm going to go just give that a go. And it always turns into something. It turns into shin splints. It turns into a calf injury. It turns into a foot injury.
And it's so arbitrary, right?
Right. 3 miles. I don't know why that is. Just go.
Just go for time.
Just go run. Yeah.
Societal thing, because the 5K is such
would assume so.
Probably because maybe they've signed up for one and they're like, I'm going to go see if I can do this.
Yeah.
And they do it, but they end up getting hurt. I was curious, this summer, I felt like running at first was the only thing that people were able to do. Did you guys see an increase? What were some of the increases that you guys saw in the store? Because of
big increase in run walk customers, folks who had never done that outside, not just first timers, but first time outside runners. And we all know that a treadie versus the outdoors, it's different. You're working it's just a different feeling. And I think everybody who does a lot of treadie running and then moves out to the outdoors notices aches and pains that they never had before. Certainly more impact, but also you're not keeping up with that belt anymore. You're actually propelling yourself forward.
Right.
There's hills that come when you didn't hit the button, and there's there's just differences outside. Terrain is different. The way that the foot is going to maneuver as it goes through the rough roads around here. So I think that we saw a ton of people with those related injuries from not having ever had that running environment, whether it was running period or running outside. So many gym runners that spend all their life running in the gym, and now they're out on the roads, and so that was a huge influx of that for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Which comes along with piles of injuries, right? Because you're outside for the first
Right,
time, or you're
right.
running for the first time, and
Absolutely.
We definitely saw, like you said, just that new influx, but then people coming in saying, "Oh, I bought these shoes a year ago," and then we see the model line, and it's like, well, that was made 4 years ago.
it's like nice to see other people lost track of 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it goes by really quick.
You don't do anything. Like, oh man.
And unfortunately, they usually look brand new as well.
Yeah,
it's
which
just
means they haven't been touched in a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
So shoes are the name of the game for you.
Yep.
And one of the things I wanted to talk about was
Great segue.
It was.
This
This nailed it.
was
Good.
the so we've seen, and maybe some people who don't know this, I'm gonna let you know. There's shoes on the market right now that claim that they will truly make you faster. For the first time ever, they'll claim to make you a certain percentage faster, or a certain amount, or by a certain amount of energy, right? And we've seen shoes before that say like, oh, energy return and all that BS. But for the first time, it's kind of like, okay, now they're on elite athletes, and we're seeing that, and now they're bringing it to the consumer. So what about that?
You want to take that, Shoe Geek?
Yeah, sure. So what you're mainly talking about is it's called the Nike Vaporfly 4% now. They have infused a carbon plate in between the new foam that they've created as well.
And what's that do?
Propels you forward, basically. Well, not technically, actually. That's what people just kind of assume it is.
Yeah,
it's like
it
a
does
spring.
look like that.
It doesn't actually spring you forward. It's the combination of this new super foam and a harder plate that is helping you along in your natural gait. So, I think it's been around long enough that we're seeing results, and it's definitely true. Definitely true. We talked about this actually before we came in, that like for that elite marathoner that has run like a 2:08 on average for them,
which is
they're
fast.
they're now running 2:05. Just
So it's
out of
working.
nowhere.
So it's working.
Yes,
Is what you're
yes,
saying.
yeah.
Yeah. I listened to a did I ever send you that Simon Bartold
Yes.
podcast?
Yeah.
A guy named
Yeah.
Simon Bartold, who's been in the industry forever, worked for a bunch of the big dogs, and he said we're not going to know until we've dissected these things for years, but he's boiling it all down to the foam. He thinks that has way more to do with the foam than it does to do with the plate even. But there's something, I mean, all right, so if we want to debate gels, we could debate that, right? But if you throw a gel down and you psychologically think, I've got more in the tank, you've got more in the tank, right? Once you've told yourself you got more in the tank.
Yeah,
So I think there's
definitely.
something about the feeling of these shoes, too, that cannot be underscored. I mean, it is just incredible when you put them on and you have this feeling of, there is something very different under my foot. It has a massive amount of cushioning to protect me, but it is light and it is propulsive. It feels
You put them on.
Oh yeah.
It's
I
noticeable.
just raised to 5K in them.
Just raised to 5K.
In the Vaporfly is the one that's going to get all the attention as a Nike shoe, but
Right.
we're in the carbon wars right now. Every brand has a shoe with a carbon fiber plate.
But they have to for their own elite athletes, so that way no one's missing out or losing because that's their life. You know, that's
and
their
they're
job.
not all created equal by any means. I mean, Ben and I have been pawing these things over for a year now, and some are far more lean in the amount of material they have underfoot. I'd say probably Hoka's got the most amount of material still underfoot, but that Vaporfly is not far behind. That's for sure.
Is it because the one thing that I think is, and how I send everybody to your store, is because of the fact that like you guys actually do an analysis of the foot. You watch the people walk. You look at the feet. You know more about feet than most physical therapists and most doctors, unless they're podiatrists, I'm sure. That's the nice thing about having Winnie with us as well. Like I'll get a foot in and I'll look at it, and then he looks at it and he's doing just wild things to it, and it's great for the customer. Can any foot go in these shoes, or is this just a shoe for an elite runner?
I think when you get to the top end, the Vaporfly, I think the answer is yes. Asics Meta Racer, I think yes. But the Carbon X, I think the average man can wear a Carbon X. I think The Saucony series, they've kind of almost created a system where, yeah, you can have this one with the carbon, or you can have this one with the TPU plate, or you can have this one without a plate, but we still have the same rocker in it and the same kind of styling around how this shoe feels.
Yeah.
So I think that's been a big one. The Endorphin series has allowed a lot of people who couldn't get into that Vaporfly series. It's given them an option to feel that what I was saying before. Forget the plate, just the feeling, just the feel of that shoe under your foot, which is really fast. And
nice.
And you're losing a lot of the racing. The typical racing flat has all but disappeared pretty much from from the running stores. It's crazy.
Even on the track, you watch guys and they'll have them on a set of flats, and you're like, okay, maybe there's something.
There's something to that feeling. And I like Simon said, I don't think you'll find this until you've dissected these for years and you got a lot of research behind it. And
two questions. One, can I get the makers? Two, is are the numbers significant enough? Like, is 3 minutes off a marathon time, like, is that just all right? He's an anomaly, or is this something like?
If this old guy shaves 3 minutes, that ain't much.
Yeah.
Okay. If some of the local guys that are some of the best local runners around here shave 3 minutes, it's pretty good. If you shave minutes when you're down in the 2:0 area, it is massive.
Okay.
We're talking seconds now.
Now, all right, cool, interesting.
That was one. I thought there was two questions.
Oh, the first one was pass me the makers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And we succeeded on that one.
Yes. If you had said, will you pass me?
Will you pass me? No, we're good there. No, awesome, cool.
How do you separate the shoe from just performance going on? You know what I mean? How do you?
That's hard. I mean, we talk about that all the time, because what was the other factor we were talking about today? Nutrition. You know,
right.
How do you stratify these variables on what's causing it? I mean, you got to look at them all as a performance enhancing piece. But it's just another piece. You know, it is. If my efficiency was better by 3%, maybe I make it to 23 or 24 in Mohawk Hudson, and then I tough it out. You know, and I'm close enough that I can make an effort at it. And that was nutrition balance. That's all I needed was better nutrition. But then I'm thinking about the crappy shoes I was wearing that day, and maybe if I had a pair of Vaporflies, I might I might make it.
Are these are these too new to where, like, I would say, like, comparing it to baseball, like when you had a guy that was touching 100 miles an hour, that was a big deal. Now you have multiple people touching 100 miles an hour. So it's like,
if you're not touching it, you're not going anywhere.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's, in my mind, that's where, like, I'm sitting in the baseball world, like trying to compare it to the running world here.
Yeah.
Are we seeing across the board with the elites, it just making a significant difference?
The elites are getting faster, no doubt.
Awesome.
The elites are getting faster, but you're seeing the collegiate level is getting faster.
Oh, good.
D3.
Where the D3
the rise of D3 is
unbelievable.
coming through huge.
I couldn't sniff the top 20 on my collegiate team that I went to now, where they are today, 15 years later.
Really?
Yep, not even close.
Huh.
So that was a segue to another thing we were going to talk about too, was you got a lot of guys touching that mark. And so I think a big thing in high school athletics for that type of, maybe somewhat similar, is like, can you crack a 4-minute mile at 18 years old? And remember when that was done for the very first time 50, 60 years ago, and now you got high school kids left and right doing it. Is that the introduction of turf? Is that the change to the meters instead of the yards? Is that the change between footwear? Is that coaching? Probably all of those little pieces coming together.
Training. I mean, how is training evolved from? I mean, I know when I went to college, and then like when you went to college, how training has evolved.
In
for
all sports,
running,
right?
all
Everything,
sports, for running. Like
I think it's the same as those other sports. It's no longer a season. It's the entire year. Right? You don't play baseball in the spring. You play baseball all year round.
We see that.
So I think that's one of the huge differences with running too, is that you might have been a soccer player that ran track, right? And you could have been a really, really
That's
good
what I did.
track.
Yeah.
And had a coach been able to snag you and throw you into cross country, your aerobic base would guaranteed be better. Would you have lost that cross training aspect of being a soccer player? You would have lost that, but that's the difference, right? You gotta
and depending on what event you're going, like now you're going from, say your focus changes to the power aspect of sprinting rather than 90 minutes of
Yeah,
I would say it's like more the evolution of like a true athlete is also a reason why we're seeing like you said the high school level. Like we're older. It was, you were a runner, you ran. You didn't go to the gym. Like, you never saw distance runners in the gym. You have to be I think coaches nowadays have just understood that to get to where someone wants to go, or to set them to the get to the next level per se, you have to be an overall better athlete.
Yeah.
So, and I think we're just kind of seeing the fruits of that labor
That's great.
come through.
That's nice to see.
When I was in high school, I did that. I played soccer freshman, sophomore year, and then
Yep.
decided to run cross country junior and senior year. During soccer and then during a little bit of cross country, I would go to the weight room where the football guys would go during the summer to lift. So there's that one like small dude, a bunch of dudes maxing out like 400 pounds. And here am I trying to do squats.
You were bullied at all.
So, and so I got a mix of workouts because they're like, who's this idiot? What do we do with this guy?
Yeah.
And, but shout out to my high school coaches who were really ahead of their time in terms of lifting and strength and conditioning, football and then track for those guys. But so I roll up as the one kid, right? Because I lived like a quarter mile from the stadium. My mom was like, just go do something. I was like, oh, I guess I'll go over there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I would go. So I'd run and then I'd go to lift. But I was like the one distance guy going there at the time. And now looking back as being a part of SPI and going to work with Utica College's athletes and thinking about where my experience was and how I want to treat these guys based on how I was treated makes a huge difference. And I was the only one. Because I still did that, not even after soccer, and I wasn't the only one for soccer, but for cross country. And I went for cross country, and then I was the only cross country kid obviously doing it. But that made a huge difference in that well-rounded kind of nature.
Yeah.
So that was maybe, and that was maybe around 2012, 2013. So I think even then we've seen a huge change in how this is done.
You and I have had this conversation a bunch about heavy lifting for distance runners and how effective it is. I think
It's the only way.
I think what scares people though is heavy lifting without somebody that knows what they're doing near you is a really bad idea.
Yeah.
You can go out and do all kinds of resistance band stuff and you're probably going to be okay, and not really get injured. But
Better than nothing.
Better than nothing. I think
this guy.
Yeah.
Resistance bands.
Coming from the guy. With the
You just learned that word the other day.
At the end of this, you guys are going to sit me down and just show some hip mobility exercises.
Not a problem. I got you there.
But most people aren't going to do that, so they need to find a space they can do it in where they can actually learn the appropriate techniques, and I think it's some of the most effective stuff.
Right. But so going to the well-roundedness and something that we could talk about for days, and most people have probably heard of this kind of stuff, is like, well, as a runner, what else should I be doing? Should I be doing more? I mean, the answer is clearly yes.
It is, and I when I look at the reasons I think that they do this constant all year round is because those who have made it to the top level did that, right?
Right.
But most of us aren't going to make it to that top level, and it's hard to piece your kids apart at 13, 14 years old and say, listen, go play soccer for a season because you're probably not going to be an elite track athlete. So don't worry about cross training, or don't worry about doing cross country just to stay in shape. Go do something different, build some more power or something. You can't really say that. So you kind of need this, like you said, trick them into it so that they do some other things. And if the gym, though, the one thing about the lifting is, to me, that for a runner at least, that is such a difference between what we do every day, which is very low. It's low weight, it's repetitive. It's that not a powerlifting thing. That's pretty easy because you can just explain to them that we're not tricking you. This is needed for you. And while you're there, do some hip mobility exercises so when you're 38, you're not laid up all summer in quarantine.
Sucks, man. Sucks getting old.
It's terrible.
What's
terrible. Winnie's the only PT I know that wouldn't treat me. He never came into the store to treat me. I only take my treatments in the store.
Had I known.
I know. I should have called.
Had I known,
you were supposed
I would have been down there. I know. I wanted a pair of shoes.
Set up an
I was going
appointment
to come. I want to come and get some shoes.
You guys need help down there? It's just like, what's going on?
Now I really want these Nikes. I really kind of want these things.
You can't get them. That's another thing.
Why
You
don't
can't
I
get them.
want
Can't get them.
What do you mean I can't get them?
Nope. Nike.
Ask Ben what he just paid for his last pair.
Yeah.
What are we
They
talking
retail
about?
for $250.
Okay.
When they're released by Nike.
Price doesn't matter.
Nike drops them at like a certain date and a certain time.
You want an
scalpers get them.
You're an endorphin guy.
I'm a big endorphin guy. Big endorphin guy.
You're gonna like the endorphin.
I have a friend who has the Alpha Fly.
Really?
Got
What
it at that
size?
same time.
Tens? Bring them over here.
I'll tell him to come up. He's an
Those 9.5s
ophthalmologist. He lives in
right?
Virginia.
Right.
Oh.
You could
Corey,
squeeze
cool kid.
Ryan. You could squeeze into his 9.5s.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you know the pro runner Nick Simmons? former
800.
retired
Who
pro.
is that?
Just wondering.
Yeah.
Now he does all he has his own YouTube channel and he does weird stuff.
Speaking
And
of
he
D3,
does
yeah.
a full he goes to the gym, does a CrossFit session in the Alpha Fly to see how it does.
Oh.
And he's it's just an awful video. I mean, he knows it's a joke half the time, but he's God, this is the worst shoe ever for anything but running.
Right. I spent some time in the Endorphin Pro. I went to your shop
Yeah.
and picked it up, and I talked with a couple folks who were you should get the speed, and I was why not get the Pro? You know what I mean?
You should have the Pro.
You only live once.
People.
Yeah.
So, I went and bought it, and
Young
I used it
and
a couple
fast.
times.
Fast.
And so I have a small Achilles injury that I'm kind of nursing, but what it does is it makes it more sensitive, to an increase in, any sort of force or something in the exercise that I do.
I can speak better to those forces than I can, but I can tell you from a runner standpoint and people using them over and over again, they are not forgiving shoes. They
No.
beat you
Maybe
up.
that's what I'm-
I have the Carbon X from Hoka, and I'll go rip a workout with those, and my calves are destroyed for 2 days.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping the
Yeah.
physiological benefits that I gained that day were
Shameless
gonna-
plug here, but have you tried the cryotherapy machine?
I mean, since you've got the cryotherapy, I've walked in this building 10 times and no one's ever said, hey, you want to jump in there real quick?
Am I never here when you're here? I don't understand. You need therapy.
I'm always here after 3:30.
I'm on the 7th hole already by the time you come here. Pretty standard.
What time do we close?
What age are you noticing? Are we done with that? I got another question.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
I thought you were going to have a laser printer.
I could top that point out. I mean,
no, I like
okay,
no.
so
It was
to
good.
reemphasize,
No, we're
it
done.
uses
We're done.
more muscles.
Yes.
We got
And
it.
you
I
might
think
notice it more than others.
I think I cleaned it up for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
thanks.
really-
Stockton to Malone right there.
That shows his age right there.
What kind of professional runners are those? Basketball guys. I got that one. At what
Pass the mark.
age? Pass the mark. Jesus Christ. What age are we seeing? What age can you look at a runner locally and say, this kid's special?
How young?
How young? How young can you guys look at someone coming into the store, watching their races, watching their stuff, and be like, this kid's got potential?
I think you can tell right away.
Yeah.
Especially biomechanics,
Mm-hmm.
especially at that young
it
age.
looks easy.
I mean, especially in males,
Yeah.
they're either this tall or this tall, and they
Yeah.
don't know what's going on with their body, and then suddenly one day you just see a guy that's just cruising, and you're
He's
like
got that
right
effortless,
there,
that
right
beautiful
there.
looking run.
Yeah.
Like you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just want to.
that way.
You do. Everyone that talked, we had ladies that lived on his street, and he's up running, and she's like, I saw Eric. And he's
Yes.
like a gazelle out there.
Those
running.
ladies are about 85.
Yeah.
Still
They
got
loved
it, Eric.
No, but you see it. You could tell when someone's struggling.
Yeah.
You can look at my Boilermaker pictures and then look at other people's Boilermaker pictures.
Ryan,
And
don't
there's
feel like you're on an island, man. You
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, but they have that at a
They
young
definitely
age.
do.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
obviously it's coachable. You can, there are kids that obviously don't show it in modified that suddenly hit it and get going, especially, I mean, I think we work with a few people that post collegiately, even, it takes a little bit of time.
Right.
You don't find your event and then suddenly
I feel like with the other sports, I mean, to play past college is, I mean, you're turning pro at that point.
Yeah.
For running, you can continue on with that sport much later.
Absolutely.
What point do you hit, where you're kind of at your peak? I mean, because I watched just the Ironman in Lake Placid. When I watched that, I mean, I saw people doing that, and I'm just like, how are they doing this?
Yeah,
But they do.
I think the post-collegiate runner, depending on whether they ran in college or not, you see a lot of them are pretty tired after that. And
And they're burnout.
and they
Right.
come back
Yes.
up.
Yeah.
Some keep riding that.
I think
wave.
with a lot of college sports, you'll have people.
Yeah.
I didn't touch a ball for literally a year. Something I did every day my entire life, from as young as I was till a year. I didn't want to touch a ball. Like
that was me.
Anything to
That was me as a runner, and
Yeah.
I left for a decade.
Yeah.
I'm in my quote unquote comeback tour right
Yeah.
now.
Nice.
It's been a year and a half ish of me running again, like
Yeah.
all the time. Not all the time, but
Yeah.
enough. So
Nice.
yeah.
You know, the one thing with distance running versus your shorter sprint stuff and even your mid-distance stuff, which, yes, it's huge aerobic capacity, but it is so much more of that power stuff. Aerobic capacity just keeps developing, and if you're healthy and you keep going, I like a plug to Dave Putney, who's in his 50s, and Dave Putney will whoop me in basically any distance today right now.
Nice.
And Dave just keeps getting faster. The guy,
Yeah.
he's having PRs left and right in his 50s. At distances from 10K up to marathons.
That's good.
And he's been fairly healthy other than a couple of injuries here and there. And it's just a matter of aerobic capacity building over 20, 30 years. And if you can stay healthy, you cannot. There's no substitute for aerobic capacity in this business. And you see guys that just excel in those 50s, and they're anomalies, but
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know?
To tie it back, the shoes aren't just about the shoes themselves, it's about the runner. So the little things that you're talking about for the folks watching, I mean, it does come down to nutrition, training, consistency, habit, doing the right stuff at the right time, and then you'll be able to make use of that shoe that you spent the money on, right?
Sure. Yeah. Do all the other things though.
Right.
You know.
So training plays a big part, and you do training over at the Sneaker Store, yeah?
Yep. Coach Ben, Coach Josh, and Coach Karen.
Oh, very cool. So if you're looking for a program, that might be somewhere to stop by.
And then there's another guy there named Johnny Stretchatera. Some of you guys might know him.
There was a John Nicotera sighting in SPI today.
He never does bicep curls, quote unquote. Okay, come on.
Okay.
Specimen. and I'm not trying to blow his head up
If
any
he's
more than
watching
he
this
needs to
right
be.
now,
Oh, he's
I gotta
going
know
to.
what he's doing for those biceps.
It's unreal.
He's curling while he's watching.
Yeah.
John's got to be a good runner.
John,
He's got to be one of those.
So here's what we're gonna make this. We're gonna take this thing off the rails a little bit and talk about other sports too.
Good, let's
You
go.
ever seen Ray Lewis coming out of the tunnel after halftime, ready for another round of football?
Yeah.
John Nicotera looks like Ray Lewis running across the football field, no matter what pace he's at.
Really, he just does it.
Yep, 8-minute recovery pace, 6-minute rate pace. It does not matter. John looks like Ray Lewis cranking across the football field. Again, you know.
What's next? Business question. Here we go. This is interesting to me.
What's
What's
the
next?
lightning round after
If
that?
if you were to ask me what's next, I don't know.
I'm sure right now you can't even.
On the whiskey. What's
Yeah.
next?
You can't even. It's hard. And I noticed that we're on our end. Like I always knew. October, November, hockey's starting.
Yes.
March, baseball's starting.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it's just.
Yeah, you have no idea
What's going on?
We're in a stage right now where we're putting together, I think, a killer team of staff that is taking on new projects and walking their own directions, which is kind of neat. We are where it used to be me and Rich just kind of down this alley. It seems like right now we're in a big growth model, where everybody's kind of moving their own direction, taking pieces of the business and building it. So we're I can't tell you what's next in terms of where we go, but I think it's going to be good because we got a good team.
What do you see for the running community in the Utica area, and where would you like to see that go?
We've said this for 40 years.
Yeah.
I'm only 38. We've said this for 40 years. We'd love to see the local runners rally around all of our big races, not just train purely for Boilermaker and hang those shoes up and not run again until April.
It's tough.
It doesn't mean you have to run, 365 days a year, but we'd love to see programs get together where people start training for Falling Leaves, which is the next biggest race in this area.
Or even Peak to Brew, which is a local team.
So what's the answer? Is it more races? Is that the answer?
I don't think it's more
honestly,
races.
I'm an average runner that just runs for the Boilermaker. And once it was canceled this year, I did not.
Right.
I didn't feel the need to go and run so I could compete.
Yeah.
And is the answer more big races like that to get people fired up and and ready to go.
There are more. It's just not more local.
Yeah,
I think that the answer is really it's on us, right? Why do you go to Boilermaker? Boilermaker is one of the most fun days in the Utica area.
Have
right?
a blast there.
It's on us to make it more fun.
Yeah. I think what I would like to see personally is something, scale it down a touch, right? Everyone loves the Boilermaker. Mm-hmm. We can have that atmosphere at a much smaller event that our running community itself sticks to. Right. And I think there's definitely some worry going forward with post-COVID, whenever that actually happens, because obviously all races are canceled right now, that when races are able to be put back on, we're going to see a race like every 3 days. And I don't know if that's the answer to it.
I think it is, man.
You think it is?
I think it is. I think for people that want to compete, you got to have competitions. And like you said, they're there, but they're just not local. But if you get a couple local ones more, then they're going to say like, all right, let's take a crew and go out to Syracuse or Rochester or one of of these other places and do that stuff.
I just worry about the quality of the event.
Understandable.
If it's thrown together that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, one of the big things in Utica is that we have a great running community.
Definitely.
We have a really good competitive community. We have a good mid-pack community. We have a good casual runner community. Boilermaker has just thrusted so many non-runners into the running atmosphere for 2 months out of the year, right? Right. And for us, if you ask me what I want to see out of the running community, I want to capture those people. And I want to capture those people, and that's to make it more fun. It doesn't matter what it is, just make it more fun. And because that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah.
I like that you mentioned Peak to Brew. I used to do one in Vermont every year, and then that one stopped. I think it was the Green Mountain Relay. We would do that one, and that was a blast. Yeah, I had a great time doing that with Dawn and everyone in grad school.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun doing that. I'd like to see more of those. But it's different though. That was mentally over a day and a half.
And relays,
running all that,
coordinating relays. I mean, it's just
a night. You need 2 vans. You need you're picking your legs. You're doing it, and then someone always falls out, so you're doing more. And
and the race directors, their job is an absolute nightmare. Yeah, it's hard enough to coordinate a race in one county. You got to coordinate across it's insane.
Man,
more power to them on that.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of races that I would love to actually run in and not run.
Oh yeah, no,
definitely more fun running them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's
okay. What's the craziest thing you've done before your best race?
You go first.
I'll still keep that. I mean, I PR'd in the my one and only. Unfortunately, I've only ever run one Boilermaker.
One Boilermaker?
One Boilermaker.
What'd you do? Guy in April.
What did I run? I ran 52:30.
52.
Yeah.
That's fast.
Don't you have to PR on your first race?
Yes, true. Very good point.
I didn't come up with that.
I'll keep names out of it, but they were part of your former. Well, you didn't know them really. You were younger than them, but some former Utica pioneers hanging out, drinking the night before, well into the night.
I have a feeling I know this crew.
Little sleep.
Jeff Hale?
I don't know who you're talking about.
Eric, we work for Utica College, man.
But I ended up post-race in the McDonald's, actually, right down the road here, barefoot.
Nice.
Nice. Still not allowed in there.
Still not allowed.
10 years later, his name is on the wall.
Is right up on the wall.
You got the muzzy now, though, so now you can go in.
Long, flowy hair. I had to shave that off.
I want to hear about the hair.
All right, Josh.
Mine is definitely my senior year at Geneseo.
Craziest thing.
3K in St. Lawrence. I ran my PR after a long week of overhydrating, followed by 5 for 5 Arby's roast beef sandwiches the day before the race. And I don't remember any of the race.
No.
Just the finish line and the start line, basically. But
Ryan, what about you?
I don't run. I take the Boilermaker as serious as possible. I really do. Like the past couple of years, I've just tried beating Mike Jarmak. And the best year I got 77 minutes, which I was never a runner. I was a soccer player in college, and I was happy with that. But I did I did this race in Baltimore called the Survivor Harbor 7. Awesome race. They don't do it anymore, but it's all along the Inner Harbor. It was cool. I did that, then the Green Mountain Relay. So I was going to the Boilermaker feeling good. Ran under another girl's name, another bid name. So I can't even go, and this is going to sound terrible, but I can't even go to the record books and say, I ran a 77. But since then, I'm a man of integrity. I'm not going to sit here and lie about that. But now my goal is to beat Mike Jarmak, and I can't touch that kid. The kid can run.
Power.
He really can.
Size.
So, like, I take it serious. I got the Normatec boots on the night before. Like, I'm trying everything.
Did you leave that a little too late with the Normatec boots?
What's going on? Who knows what's going on? But like, I'm not doing anything crazy before a race. I'm just not like, I'm not built that way. Like, maybe before like a soccer game or a hockey game. Rip beers or whatnot. Before a race, I'm not good enough to do that. Like, you guys can do that,
right?
Like,
So you actually just touched on a little thing when you asked what we want to see, kind of going forward. Yep. I want to see, and what I actually think is awesome about the current running community right now, just kind of across America, is like the revitalization of the amateur runner. This past Olympic trials, going back to talking more nerd running stuff, was like just the largest, best event for the Olympic trials that we have seen in far too long. And local like competition.
Yeah.
Like, I want that man across the table from me to get back into shape, and I would love to race him.
Back into shape?
Oh.
Yeah. Be that senior I saw running around there and winning.
I know.
Good. I'm glad you guys are 40 years in.
40 years in.
And look forward to 40 more. And
absolutely.
Hopefully
make it there.
Change the running community for the better.
Yeah. No, we got a great winning.
Do you remember 21st night, September? Love was changing the minds, pretenders, while chasing the clouds away. 'Cause it's too cold.